Why not? Let's see. All right. We're live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Here we go. Listen, talking about breaking patterns today. I need to develop a pattern of how to literally go into this system. Forgive me. I had some technical issues, but good morning. Good morning. Hello. It's Thursday. All right. It's Thursday. We're going to get right into it. Hey, just take a deep breath. This is our time. No pressure, right? Just our presence, right? So, welcome back to Project Life. Listen, our daily intention, bite-sized recipes, where we turn theory into practice. I hope you're having a great morning. If you are, put a heart in the comments for me. Yeah, and if you have any questions as I go through today's conversation, just let me know. We're kind of starting off a little late, but hey, we here. All right. So before we dive in, just drop one word in the chat that really describes how you're feeling today. How are you feeling this morning? Okay. I am feeling happy. Right. It was very slick outside this morning. Got my son off to school. Got to have a conversation with him. Came back, set in my day. So today I'm happy. All right. Put your word in the chat for me. How are you feeling right now? All right. So today we're talking about patterns that keep us stuck in lack. Remember, this whole week is focused on lack, which is from the lemons condition. We lack the energy, motivation, organizational skills, and necessary supports and skill sets. And because we have this lemon condition, we tend to not attain our goals. So a part of Project Life is to really help you turn your lemons into lemonade. All right. And we're going to do that today, really learning how to break free from this lack mindset. And again, this week we're talking about lack. And what is lack? Just focusing on the things we don't have. And how does that show up? It really just shows up in how we talk. I don't have enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the language, right? Just really speaking from this space of not having enough. And and I talked about the story of lack, right? The first sin was lack. The story goes that, Satan tempted Eve, right? And what did he get her to focus on? He got her to focus on the thing that she didn't have. What was that thing? The one tree. Do not eat from the tree of knowledge and good and bad. And so he took her away from all the trees, right? And really got her to focus on this one tree. All right. Um, so today we're talking about lack and breaking this pattern. And just know that sometimes it's not the external world that's keeping us small, right? It's not the external things that's keeping us in lack. Sometimes it's our thoughts, right? The thoughts that repeat themselves. What is a pattern? Something that repeats itself over and over and over again. And as you know, a lot of times, well, as you know, I say first we build our habits, then our habits make us. I just feel like the source truly designed a phenomenal um, body, right? Because you give the body information and then the body gives you back, right? Information, right? So what we're telling our mind, what we're telling ourselves, our body has this phenomenal way of manifesting that. And the whole importance of language and reading books and doing the affirmation challenge and really starting to update our languages because we come from a broken language, right? A language that truly focused on what I don't have, what you shouldn't do, things like that. And then we end up running right into it because we haven't learned to affirm our language. So instead of telling me what you don't want, let's learn how to say what we do want, right? All right. So today we're going to interrupt this cycle or this pattern or this habit that we, or this relationship, right, that we have with lack. We're just going to plant the seed, right, and then let this phenomenal body do, in this phenomenal mind and heart, do what it does, which is all great. So our guiding verse today, really the power of thought patterns, right? So our guiding verse today is, do not be conformed to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Anybody know what scripture that is? Drop it in the chat, right? Romans 12:2, honey. Right. So do not be conformed to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I love this. I love this verse. I love using this verse. Again, nothing to do with religion or anything like that. It truly is a guiding verse, right? Um, because it is telling us how to shift from how we used to think and how we used to be. That's the child that my mama probably created me to be. My dad, maybe his absence, maybe a broken relationship, maybe some bullies in the past, right? Like, it is telling me to not be conformed by the patterns of this world, because those were behaviors and things that happened to me, but be ye transformed by the renewing of my mind. So I have a responsibility when I hear that. I have a responsibility to transform myself from the inside out. All right. So, what is one phrase you say often that reinforces lack, right? What is that one thing that you say that reinforces lack? Like, I can't afford that, right? I don't have enough time. I know a lot of times when we're trying to get our exercise regimen, we may say, I don't have enough time. Can you do that? I can't really afford that. I can't have that conversation right now, right? And we're living in this space where we are truly communicating lack. And what that does is it just gives it right back to us. So it seems as if I never can afford the things I really want, or I never have the time to do the things that I really want to do. But we don't realize that by using that language, right, we're creating a pattern or a habit for our mind or our reality to shape that for us. And tell me this, when you figure out what the phrases that you reinforce, how does those thoughts really shape your reality, right? How do you find yourself? Listen, we are always manifesting at our minimum standard. Hear me when I say that. So we are always living to our minimum standard, right? So your life right now is a reflection of what? Your language, what you're tolerating, what you're saying you're not able to do. And you're living that right now unconsciously, though, right? Because we all have a gap between where we are and where we want to be. And the biggest difference in where I'm at right now and where I want to be is truly, truly, truly my thoughts, my thoughts, my words that I'm using, because my thoughts then fuel my emotions. And we know that this emotion of love is the thing that truly connects us. And, this emotion of expansion is the thing that brings things into me. But if I'm always speaking in language that really separates me, then I end up living a life where I'm not experiencing the things I want. I'm just tired, I just don't have the energy for that, right? And here's the thing about the mind, it is the most unconscious thing that you have. What does that mean? So when you say, I can't afford that, it's not interpreting that as, okay, I desire that and I want to be able to afford it one day. When you're saying, hey, I want to start working out, but I don't have enough time, it's not thinking, oh, so basically you want me to create an opportunity for you to have the time to work out. It's not interpreting what you say. See, we interpret as human beings, but our minds and our brains, it don't interpret. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, put a one in the chat for me. Okay. So let's go back to our guiding verse. So do not be conformed by the patterns of the world, but be transformed transformed by the renewing of your mind. Who knows where this Bible verse really comes from? Paul, I think, which was a Roman, really urged, at that time, like Christians to just be present, to present their bodies as a living sacrifice, right? So let's break down this verse though. So do not conform to the patterns of the world. So the word conform here, it means to fit into the mold or follow the status quo. What is the mold and what is the status quo that I am following? A lot of us are following the status quo and the mold that was given to us. We doing the same. We either trying to run away from, like, who my mom was or what my environment was, not realizing that that's still the intention. My focus is still on the thing I don't want, right? So it says, do not be conform to the patterns of the world, which means don't fit the mold and don't follow the status quo, right? And what is the patterns of the world? Like societal norms, values, mindsets that are not aligned in this with source's will, right? So we have to be different. And if you follow me and you listen, then you may be that person that feels what? Different than your family, different than a lot of the environment that you come from. And it has made you probably feel a way, right? On the inside, may have eroded some parts of you and made you probably feel like you wasn't enough because, maybe you got judged for that difference. But in this verse is actually empowering you. Like, hey, you know what? You don't gotta be like them. You not gotta be like them, right? Learn how to be yourself because there is a truth in you, right? And then the second part of this verse says, be transformed. So a transformation, right, is like a metamorphosis. It's like what caterpillar, the caterpillar does when it transforms into the butterfly, right? So there is this season when the caterpillar has to go into hiding, right? Goes into this cocoon, right? And nobody really sees that transformation. And that is the work, right? That's the internal work that's really between me and source, me and myself and God, that is transforming me, helping me to think different, helping me to shape different, helping me to respond to life. That is very different than changing the external, right? That's very different than me changing, like, my mama, or trying to change my daddy, or trying to change my brothers, or trying to change my husband, or trying to change my boyfriend, right? To fit my needs. No, sometimes there is this radical and permanent shift that needs to happen on the inside of you, where one, you learn to accept yourself, right? And then when you can accept yourself, then we can learn to accept people, right? And then make the decisions accordingly, right? So it's a transformation. So transforming is truly transforming from the inside, really shaping who I am, my identity, what is my purpose and my actions. And really we need to know in this case, what are my new beliefs as this 27, 35, 55, 46, 60-year old, like, who am I? Like, what do I value today? What are some of my goals? Like, what are the things I love that is not attached to my environment, right? And really being transformed from the inside and building this new relationship with ourselves, right? And then our last part is by the renewing of your mind. All right. And the battle for transformation really starts in our mind. And I, as a mindset coach, I stepped away from therapy and went into mindset because as a mindset coach, I'm really trying to get you to think about your situation differently. We talked about the thermostat yesterday, right? Really to set your thermostat that life is for me, right? That everything is happening for my good, right? And the good of those around me. And if I can't see that, then I need to shift how I'm looking at this so I can change my story, right? To trigger what different emotions, right? To create opportunities out of those obstacles and to break this pattern, right? And create new habits, right? So the renewing of your mind means really replacing negative and limiting and what is deemed as worldly thoughts, right? Or this cultural way of thinking, with God's truth, right? Wisdom and perspective, right? It's about constantly aligning your thoughts, right? I say with scripture, with research, with principles that is undeniable. Hey, listen, if I drop this glass right now, it's going to break. Why? Because gravity exists. It is nothing I can do, right, to stop when I can't like take my hand off of this and this glass not going to fall. That is a universal law that's in place. So when I start to align my thoughts and my actions with universal laws, right, something like cause and effect, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That is a powerful one to me, because what that means is, listen, for every good thing I do, that means that I'm going to get some negative feedback and some positive feedback. That is universal law. But sometimes in our mind, we think, I do good to people, so I should always get good back. That ain't even law. That ain't even universal science, right? For every action, there is a equal or opposite reaction. So it's my job to pay attention to the equal, right, reaction that I'm looking for. So I'm looking for the good thing to come back to me. And I'm recognizing though the negative. But I'm just kind of like, okay, I see you, but I'm not gonna feed you. All right. All right. So what is the God's truth? Because we said that the battle starts in the mind, and there's this God truth, right? Wisdom and perspective that really helps this renewing process. All right. Just know that God's truth, the source truth, is unchanging, right? It's eternal. That's like gravity. These are the laws that just fundamentally, right, they don't change, and they help us to live, think, and grow spiritually. And if I can grow spiritually as a spiritual being having a human experience, then that means that my experience as a human, right, is going to shift. All right. So God truth really remains constant and is revealed through what? His words, his promises. I love that, because I always say, okay, am I speaking a language of God? And that don't mean like trying to mimic his voice, but am I leaning on his language, right? So what is some of his truth? God is faithful and unchanging, right? God is love, right? God is love. Wherever lives in love, lives in God, right? And God is in them. God is our provider, right? These are things that I can lean on, right? These are some truths about God that I can always lean on in my times of like trouble. So then when I find myself in this lack situation, and now I'm starting to like tell this story of lack, then I can say, you know what, God is my provider. So I do have enough time. I have enough resources. I have enough love. I have enough forgiveness. I have enough grace. I have enough compassion. Why do I have that? Because God is my provider. And he is the supplier of all my needs. That's what we talked about on yesterday, right? And what is our God's truth about who I am as a person and who you are, right? Drop a one in the chat if you like that, right? Well, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. I love that. I know that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and you are too, right? You are created in God's image. We are created in God's image. So God created mankind in his own image, and in his image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. That's Genesis 1 and 27. So if God created me in his image, then there's a God in me, right? That is powerful. All right. And then the fact that I'm deeply loved. And this last one, you're chosen and set apart, right? You are a chosen person or a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, right? So again, when I'm thinking about this lack, right? Whether I'm a Catholic or a Christian or a Jehovah's Witness, like whatever my religion is, there is a personal relationship. There is a personal accountability that I know that the word covers me. All right. And then what is the God's truth about our purpose? Like you have a purpose and a calling for your life, right? You are called to make an impact, right? You are the light of the world. Okay. And you have a gift. You have gifts to use for good. So when you're starting to think about lack and you're starting to think about this not enoughness and really think about that, what is that based on? It's typically based on what? Your past. It's typically based on some situation, some hurt, some something that has happened, right? To really make you believe that today. And you keep believing that today, and you're gonna keep experiencing that tomorrow. So it's energy audit Thursday, right? We're gonna audit our energy. How much of my energy that I am fueling and feeling today has more to do with what I experienced in my past, right? Because I am in this present moment, which is a gift, and I have the gift of language where I can change my circumstance by planting the seed, by just saying something different. All right. And God's truth about victory and strength is that we are more than conquerors, right? That God will fight for us and we can do all things, right? Through what? Through God who strengthens us, and God works all things for your good. So because we know this, and when I'm saying God, I'm saying, hey, the source that created us. Remember we talked about the consumer's energy yesterday, this power grid that feed source, right? Feed energy into the street poles, right? To these grids. And then they feed it into the street poles. And those street poles then feed it into your houses. And your house has this box. And in that box is breakers. And then those breakers, right? Those breakers are rooms. And it's feeding energy into each room in your house. And right now, my laptop is plugged in, or your phone is plugged in to what? An outlet. But that outlet has a source, and that source is not in your house. It's somewhere way across town somewhere, or in another city, right? So when we talk about God, it's this source of all things that we have access to through these various chains, right? But if I don't plug in my phone and I'm complaining about my battery not being charged, well, are we plugged into the source of our life, right? And that can help us to break our patterns. So now when I'm plugged in, I can, right, lean into these thoughts that I'm more than a conqueror, that everything is working for my good, that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, right? Right? And that I walk by faith, not by fear. Okay? That I forgive and love others. That I seek first God's kingdom. I'm gonna seek first that source. Okay? All right? All right? So just renew your mind daily. That is a part of this bite-sized recipe, right? Really just renewing every day, replacing negativity, fearful, and limiting thoughts, right, with these promises, right? And that's why I'm using this scripture, because that is a truth, right? It's not changing. These are universal laws. So if I can change what's true for me, because your beliefs is true to you. When we say I don't have enough time, that's true. That is what you're telling yourself. But there is a difference between what's true and what's truth. All right. What's true right now for me is that I'm sitting in front of this computer, right? That's true in this moment, but it doesn't have to be true forever, because once this over, I'm getting up, right? But truth don't change like that. Truth is what it is. Two people is two people all the time. Three people is three people all the time. Up is up all the time. Down is down all the time. So there's a difference between what's true and what's truth. And what we want to do is start to let go of some of our truths, which is some of our beliefs, some of our mindsets. We want to let that go, break those patterns, and align in some truth, right, to be a guiding force for our life. Okay, does that make sense? If it does, listen, put a heart in the chat for me. Give me some hearts. Tell me how you doing today. Give me a comment. Okay, all right. So here's some things and some takeaways. Transformation begins in the mind. All right. So true change doesn't come from willpower alone, right? It comes from shifting your mindset, right? And aligning your thoughts with some truth, right? And that's why emotional intelligence and cognitive cognitive restructuring are critical to breaking these patterns, right? So this is why we learn emotional intelligence. As a doctor, that is my study. That is my expertise. And as a clinical therapist, cognitive restructuring is my expertise, right? And so I'm able to work in these ways to help what? To help you become more emotionally intelligent, to help you really cognitive restruct, right? Really is rebuild the way you think about things, right? Another key takeaway is resisting cultural pressures, right? So the world teaches us to compare, right? To have fear, to be greed, to have greed, right? And and really self-centered, right? But the source calls for us to be faithful, right? Abundant, loving, and purposeful, right? And you have a choice to fit in with the world, which is what you were taught, right? Or stand out and connect to the source and to get this abundance, right? Of the things that you need so that what? So that you can live the life that you ultimately desire and deserve, right? And then renewal is a process. It's not an event. I always tell people, listen, life is not an event. It's not this destiny. It's the journey, right? So this isn't a one-time like transformational thing. It's a daily renewal, right? It's constantly feeding myself in this truth because what I ate yesterday has digested and it has went away. And now I have to eat something new today. I have to take of something from the source today, right? You charged your phone yesterday, you use that energy. So you're going to go back and you're going to charge your phone what? Today. All right. This is just practical. So these are practical ways to really renew your mind, right? So using affirmations, going into prayer, right? Reading scripture, right? Developing personal development, reading self-help books like the Stop It Now book, right? And then surrounding yourself with uplifting people like our community, okay? Like our Elevating Life community, all right? So your application for today is when you feel pressured to follow the crowd, just ask yourself, is this aligned with my values, my purpose, right? Is this aligned with the thing I want to do? And then when negative thoughts arise, challenge them with truth. You know, what does God say about this? What does my source say about this situation? Right? And then when we're faced with opportunity to grow, right, embrace renewal, right? What limiting belief do I need to release in this moment to allow me to experience this great thing? All right. All right. Give me a heart if that makes sense. All right, we got a couple more minutes. So I'm going to say for your transformational tool, I want you to write down a new phase, a new phrase that shifts your mindset from lack and abundance. All right. So today, your job is to write down a new phrase that shifts your mindset from lack to abundance. You get to make that. You get to create that. All right. So that could be I choose to think in abundance and my thoughts create my reality, right? You get to say I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. You get to say God is my provider, right? And then just start to become aware of when we start to use, right, this kind of lack in our conversation. And we want to break that pattern or that habit. Does that make sense? Put a 3 in the chat for me if that makes sense. All right. Our affirmation for today. Y'all ready? Okay. I want to hear you. Okay. So I choose to think in abundance, right? And my thoughts create my reality. I choose to think in abundance and my thoughts create my reality. And then I have another one. I added this one in my studies. And this is a little longer. So we're going to take our time and say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, created in the image of God for a unique purpose. Okay. I walk in confidence, knowing that I am chosen, knowing that I am loved, and knowing that I am set apart for greatness. All right. My mind is renewed daily, and I do not conform to the patterns of this world. I am transformed by who? By God's truth. All right. I am fearfully and wonderfully made, created in the image of God for a unique purpose. I walk in confidence, knowing that I am chosen, loved, and set apart for greatness. My mind is renewed daily, and I do not conform to the patterns of the world. I am transformed by God's truth. That is one from me to you. So if this session resonated with you, hey, listen, drop a fire in the chat. Thanks everybody for showing up this week, for communicating, for liking. Hey, if you have friends that you feel like would benefit from this, you can send them an invite to this group, okay? To be a part of this morning conversation. If you want the replays from this morning conversation, make sure you go over to SheilaLittle.com/life and sign up for our Project Life program, where we actually uh, help to turn theory into practice. All right. So we teach emotional intelligence in that program. You get weekly coaching in that program. There's labs in that program where you can practice this out loud. Okay. And if you're ready to go deeper in your life, right? We talk about invite your friends. Make the shift. Join Project Life, right? Is where and make that type of living your lifestyle. I love you. Okay. I apologize today for the technical issues that will not. My goal is to improve where I put the URL and the stream key. That's what the problem was. I had them switch today and it wasn't popping up for us. But we're here. I love you. And yeah, continue to make every moment a great one. Till later.